Hi, my name is Nelly Zuba, and I would like to present my sport around the world presentation. And the sport that I picked is biathlon. So, before I get started, I wanted to give everyone a quick overview of what I would be going over. So, I will talk about the origin of the sport, the basic concept of the sport and the main rules, the national and international governing bodies, the regions and countries where the sport is popular, participation rates around the world, the profile of participants, main events and media coverage, sponsorship, and support, and any licensed products that are available. Okay, so the origin of the biathlon is actually very early on. So the word itself is derived from the Greek language, where bi means two and athlon means contest. So the two disciplines that are here being contested is cross-country skiing and rifle target shooting. And I have picked this because obviously cross-country skiing is a very grueling cardio exercise where your heart rate is being really at very high rates, and then combine that with a target shooting discipline or sport where all of a sudden you have to calm down and lower your heart rate and focus and be able to completely focus on hitting a target. So the roots of the sport is in the Scandinavian countries, excuse me, such as Norway, Finland, and Sweden. It actually started as a means of personal survival. So men went hunting with their skis and shot at animals for survival. And at some point, excuse me, and at some point, it even was a form of national security because biathlon had now an integral role in military starting in the early 1700s. So once it was recognized that this was actually a very useful sport, it turned into a competition not only for military usage and hunting purposes, but also as a demonstration, as a sports demonstration. So the early biathlon competitions were held in the 18th century in Sweden and Norway, and it actually also made its debut in the Olympic Games in the old biathlon, which was back then called military patrol, and it actually consisted of cross-country skiing, mountaineering, and target shooting. So there was mountaineering even included, which was then left away. So in the 1960s, it actually made its debut as the modern biathlon as we know it today, and since then it has been regularly contested during the Winter Games. So I actually embedded a 3-minute video that outlines the evolution of the sport of biathlon, which does a fantastic job of going over everything. So I highly recommend that everyone watches it. So in my next slide, I wanted to also let everyone know how the rules work. So cross-country skiing, we're all very familiar with. That means you are on very skinny skis, skiing in a wooded area. So the distances, there are multiple different distances that range from 10 to 20 kilometers, and the target shooting is divided into 2 or 4 shooting rounds. Half of them are in a prone position and half of them are in a standing position. Typically, you get to shoot 5 rounds, and if you miss any of the targets, there is a penalty loop that needs to be done that is typically 150 meters long. So depending on the shooting performance, the extra distance of 150-meter loops or extra time added to the contestant's total skiing distance or time. Then ultimately the contestant with the shortest total time wins. And I also embedded a video here for a great explanation of all the rules of biathlon. The national and international governing bodies of the sport are so for international, it's the International Biathlon Union. That's really the worldwide most popular organization or governing body that does a fantastic job. In the US, the governing body is Team USA Biathlon. Team USA is really an organization or a governing body that does not necessarily only govern biathlon, but all the other disciplines that typically are also Olympic sports. Then additionally, who are most popular or most competitive in this sport? So biathlon is extremely popular in Europe. It is dominated by the Nordic countries, and in the 2017 and 2018 Winter Games, Germany dominated, and then in 21-22 at the last Olympic Games, Norway took the leading position from Germany. The next 2 slides, I have the actual rankings, which I thought is super interesting. So I think everyone will enjoy seeing how the rankings actually look. Okay, so as you can see, in 2021 and 22, Norway was number 1, France is number 2, number 3 is Sweden, number 4 is Germany, and then Russia, Belarus, and Italy. You can see that Norway clearly dominated with twice as many medals as France on the 2nd spot. You can see the prior Olympic Games, Germany was actually in the top spot. If you remember, France and Sweden actually have not changed at all. So if you can see here, 2021, France and Sweden were number 2 and 3, which is the same here in the previous one. So France is number 2 and 3. And what I also found interesting is Norway came back really strong with 14 medals, whereas when they were number 4 at the prior games, they had only 6 medals. And if you look at Germany, the race was much closer altogether. So you could see 7-5-4. Whereas in the latest one, Norway clearly dominated with, again, twice as many medals as the 2nd place. So that's the profile of the worldwide competition with, again, the Scandinavian or the Nordic countries dominating, with lots of snow available there, of course. Now, how does it look in the US? In the US, so I embedded a picture of the US Olympic team here. The Winter Games allow a total of 210 athletes actually. 105 of them are male and 105 of them are female, so there's a 50-50 split. The US Olympic team consists of 8 athletes. Again, it's a 50-50 split, where we have 4 female and 4 male contestants. And Yeah, so as you can see, even the ones from the US, they come from areas where there's lots of snow available. Minnesota, New Hampshire, Vermont, Wisconsin, Maine, and Colorado. So clearly, um, an area with lots of snow is clearly very important if you wanted to get into the biathlon sport. So how does the profile of participants look? Well, all participants started skiing at a very young age, most of them even under 5 years old. Then they specialize on cross-country skiing. The worldwide top participants are, again, from Scandinavia or Europe, and the most participants in the US are from Vermont, Wisconsin, Colorado, Minnesota, or Maine, as mentioned earlier. Most have college degree and come from affluent socioeconomic backgrounds, which makes sense because biathlon clearly is a costly sport because all the skiing equipment, the trail passes needed, the rifle, all the fees for going to the range, the club fees, ammunition. I mean, clearly all that can add up quickly. So it's not a cheap sport, and therefore, again, all athletes and contestants from affluent socioeconomic backgrounds. So the main events globally are the Olympic Winter Games. Clearly, that's number one. And then any other global event is organized by the IBU, the International Biathlon Union. There are World Championships, there are World Cups, there's a cup only also. There's some youth and junior World Championships, there are European Championships, and junior European, and even summer biathlon. So even in the summer, there is a season where instead of skis, they actually use almost like inline skaters. So in the US, it's mostly qualifications for the Olympic Games. I was not able to find any championships that are specific to US that does not work towards qualifying for the Olympic team. There's lots of media coverage also. As you can see, a lot of the broadcasting hours and a lot of the hours watched have increased over the years, so the sport is becoming more and more popular. And there's also a lot of digital media availability. So it's mostly broadcasted on TV, on regular TV. And then there is, of course, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook available. And lots of videos on YouTube, which I was very happy about. So then the sponsorship, there is certainly no lack of sponsors for the biathlon sport. BMW is the main sponsor. Eurovision Sport is actually a channel to watch any kind of sports. And then these are some German corporations that are very popular in Europe. And again, there's no lack of sponsorship, as you can see here. Also, I pasted some of the brands that are listed on IBU's manual. And then as far as licensed products, there's actually nothing available from the IBU. IBU does not seem to have any licensed merchandise for purchase. US Biathlon does not have anything specific to biathlon either, but Team USA has a shop that is, again, not specific to the biathlon team, but all Olympic US teams. So it would represent Team USA for any sports discipline for that matter. So, and that concludes all my slides. The last slide is basically the references that I used for gathering all the information and the research that I have done. I hope you enjoyed learning about biathlon, and yeah, let me know what you think. Thank you very much.